The universe may not be what you think it is. It may not be silent, cold, and indifferent. What if the thing you have always believed to be an empty backdrop, the black canvas on which galaxies paint their light, is not a thing at all, but a being? What if the universe is alive? Not metaphorically, not as a poetic flourish, but literally. A vast, breathing entity, older than time itself. Every flicker of starlight, every swirling nebula, every galaxy tearing itself apart in the darkness. These are not random events, but the slow, hidden pulse of something greater, something watching, something that includes you, right now, listening. The Big Bang did not bang. That's the first lie you were told. It wasn't a sound, because there was no air to carry sound. It wasn't even an explosion in space. It was space itself unraveling, stretching open like a newborn lung inhaling for the first time. Imagine rewinding the film of existence back to that instant, watching galaxies shrink, stars collapse, atoms unbuild themselves, until everything collapses into a single point of infinite density. But what if that point was not the start? What if it was only the last heartbeat of something even older, a flicker of breath before an awakening? You might wonder if the universe had parents, if universes are born the way stars are born, the way you were born. You might even feel a strange chill as you realize life didn't emerge inside the universe. Life might be the universe. Consider your body. Trillions of cells, each with its own function, each vibrating with purpose, bound together into the organism you call you. Now zoom out. Galaxies swirl like cells. Filaments of dark matter form veins across the cosmos. Superclusters knot together into vast, tangled tissues. If you could look at the entire universe from an impossible vantage point outside of it, would it resemble a body? A neural web? A living system, thinking, dreaming, evolving? The largest brain imaginable, made not of neurons but of stars. The cosmic organism that gives rise to all smaller lives the way a mind gives rise to thought. But here is the contradiction that should haunt you. If the universe is alive, it must also be aware. Life without awareness is only machinery. So is the universe conscious? And if it is, then you are not separate from it. You are a cell in its mind, a fleeting spark in its neural storm. Your every thought might be a whisper in its vast interior, one among countless trillions. Does this mean you have no freedom, that your choices are nothing but the twitching of a larger being's nerves? Or does it mean the opposite, that your consciousness is the universe experiencing itself, a fragment of its own awareness given temporary shape? Every law of physics begins to feel less like an arbitrary rule and more like instinct, the way a heart knows to beat, the way a lung knows to draw in air. Gravity is its embrace. Time is its heartbeat. Entropy is its hunger. And black holes? Perhaps they are not monsters devouring matter, but organs recycling it, processing the raw ingredients of being itself. The more you stare into the dark, the more alive it feels. Not dead matter, not chaos, but order. Organic, breathing, inevitable. You can almost hear it, a low hum beneath everything, the slow inhalation and exhalation of eternity. And yet, there is terror in this idea. If the universe is alive, then it can also die. If it has a pulse, that pulse can stop. Will there come a time when its stars burn out, when galaxies dissolve into silence, When the great body shudders one final time before going still? Or is death only transformation, a shedding of skin, a cycle that births another cosmos in an endless chain of reincarnations? What if the universe has already died countless times before, and what you are living in now is simply one of its many dreams? You feel the weight of the question pressing on you. Because if the universe is alive, then you are not simply in it, you are of it. Every beat of your heart, every flicker of your neurons, is the cosmos turning its gaze inward, studying itself. And in the silence between your breaths, you might hear the question it is asking through you. What am I? What am I becoming? And are you ready for the answer? You have been told that the universe is simple, that it began in a single blazing instant and has been expanding ever since. That space is a void, time a river, matter a collection of particles, bound by forces that can be written down as neat symbols on a blackboard. These are the truths you inherit in school, the pillars on which modern cosmology rests. But look closer, much closer, and those pillars begin to wobble. The foundation is not concrete, but mist. The truths are not absolute, but riddles. The story begins with light. Not just the light you see when you look up at the stars, but a deeper glow, a fossilized afterimage imprinted across the entire sky, the cosmic microwave background. It is the echo of the beginning, a whisper from when the universe was just 380,000 years old. You might imagine it as a photograph, a blurred snapshot of a universe still wrapped in fire, hydrogen ions still tangled in a luminous soup. To the human eye it is invisible, but to our instruments it is everywhere. A faint hiss, a cosmic static that sings to us of origins. Scientists call it proof. But is it? Look at it long enough, and the photograph begins to warp. The universe does not tell its story with clarity. It mutters, it hides, it teases. The early universe wasn't just hot. It was a furnace where time itself was still learning to move. Temperature wasn't just heat, but violence. Particles colliding with unimaginable force, annihilating and reappearing, a chaos so dense that to speak of seconds feels absurd. How long is a second when space-time itself is stretching? When a clock would melt under the weight of existence? You could say the universe was an ocean of plasma, a boiling tide of light and matter. But even that fails. Imagine instead a storm, made of equations, where the lightning bolts are particles and the thunder is the roar of expansion itself. Here lies the first contradiction. The universe, we are told, has no edge. Fly in any direction, and you will never find a wall, never bump into a boundary. It expands not into space, but space itself expands. And yet, we speak of a beginning. How can something without edge have a start? How can infinity ignite? Imagine holding a balloon, uninflated, limp in your hand. Now, imagine it swelling as you blow air inside, the surface stretching, carrying dots that drift farther apart. This, we are told, is the shape of space-time. But if the balloon expands, what is it expanding into? The answer, the textbooks assure us, is nothing. But what is nothing? And how can nothing give birth to everything? Cosmologists tried to solve this with a concept both brilliant and unsettling. Inflation. In the first fraction of a second, the universe didn't merely expand. It exploded in size by a factor so large it defies imagination. Distances smaller than atoms were stretched beyond galaxies. Inflation smooths the story, erases wrinkles, explains why the universe looks so uniform across the sky. It is a triumph of universe looks so uniform across the sky. It is a triumph of mathematics, but it raises a darker question. If inflation could happen once, why not again? Could universes be budding endlessly, like foam on an infinite sea? If so, what makes ours special? Or worse, what if it isn't special at all? Think of time. To you, it feels like a flowing river, carrying you from past to future. But to physics, time is a stubborn paradox. The equations describing the cosmos do not prefer forward or backward. They allow time to run in reverse, just as easily as it runs forward. So why do you remember yesterday, but not tomorrow? Why does entropy, the slow unraveling into disorder, always increase? The arrow of time seems carved into the universe itself, but the laws that govern it are indifferent. Somewhere, hidden deep in the structure of the cosmos, lies the reason for your memories, your aging, your inevitable end. If the universe is alive, then time might be its heartbeat. And one day, it might stop. Space itself is no less deceptive. You are told it is empty, a void. But the void is restless. Quantum physics whispers that emptiness seethes with ghostly particles, flickering into existence before vanishing again. The vacuum is not nothing, but a restless sea of potential, a fabric humming with invisible fluctuations. Some physicists believe this quantum foam is the true foundation, the microscopic froth from which galaxies, stars, and even you emerged. But if space is alive with ghosts, then what is it hiding? So here you stand, staring into a night sky littered with points of light, believing you know the story. But the deeper you go, the stranger it becomes. If the universe has no edge, then where does it begin? If time flows forward, why do its laws allow it to flow backward? If the void is forward, why do its laws allow it to flow backward? If the void is empty, why does it seethe? You thought you were on solid ground. Instead, you are standing at the edge of a bottomless mystery, where every answer leads only to deeper questions. And this is only the setup. The true secret waits further still, hidden in the darkness, waiting for you to ask the one question you have always been afraid to ask. What if the universe itself is not a stage, but the actor? The story of the universe, as you have been told, begins with an impossible point, a singularity, an object that is not an object, a place that is not a place. It is the one word whispered with equal parts awe and frustration by cosmologists. Singularity. To speak of it is to admit we have reached the limit of understanding. The singularity is not a solution. It is a wound in physics. Imagine this. A star dies. Not quietly, not gently, but in a collapse so violent that atoms themselves are crushed beyond recognition. The star's nuclear fire sputters out, gravity takes command, and the entire core implodes. There is no force strong enough to resist. Electrons are smashed into protons, protons into neutrons, neutrons into quarks, quarks into nothing. The collapse does not stop. It races inward, infinitely inward, until the star's entire mass is compressed into a region smaller than a grain of sand, smaller than an atom, smaller than mathematics can describe. This is the singularity at the heart of a black hole, a place where equations break, where the known laws of physics do not merely falter, but disintegrate. If Einstein's general relativity is a map of space-time, then the singularity is a tear in the parchment. a jagged hole through which the ink of reality bleeds out. But here is the paradox. Singularities are not supposed to exist. They are the dividing line between knowledge and ignorance, the cliff's edge of reason. Yet the universe insists on making them. Collapsing stars do not ask permission. They form black holes, and at the center of every black hole lies this impossible core, a singularity where density is infinite and time itself comes to a halt. Picture the event horizon, the border of a black hole. To an outside observer, nothing can cross it and return. Light itself is trapped, bent back upon itself, forced into eternal orbit. The horizon is the ultimate boundary. What falls past it is lost, not merely hidden, but erased from communication with the outside universe. And deep within, beyond this one-way door, lurks the singularity. If you could fall in and survive the impossible tidal forces that would rip your body atom from atom, you would never reach the singularity in finite time. To you, it lies ahead. But to an outside observer, frozen on the edge, you never fall at all. Time stretches, slows, halts. You become a ghost smeared on the horizon. Already you feel the contradiction. To you, time still flows. To the universe outside, you are suspended forever. Whose time is true? Is there one truth? Or are there as many truths as there are observers? This is the singularity's gift, to expose the lie that time is absolute. It is the first great reminder that reality bends depending on where you stand, and that what you call truth may be nothing more than a local illusion. But singularities do not belong only to black holes. They haunt the very beginning of everything. The Big Bang itself, our great origin story, was a singularity. All matter, all energy, all space, all time, compressed into a point of infinite density. A beginning that is also an end. A boundary past which science cannot see. The equations that describe the expansion of the cosmos refuse to speak of what came before. They fall silent at time zero. The curtain closes. But does silence mean nothing? Or does it mean something we do not yet have the language to describe? Singularity is not emptiness. It is a paradox dressed as a point. To say the universe began with one is to say the cosmos began with a question that has not yet been answered. Now imagine the universe as a film reel, each frame a moment of time. From the birth of stars to the beating of your heart, each instant exists as a slice of the reel. Normally, you imagine the film running forward, each frame flickering into life and then vanishing. But what if the entire reel already exists? What if the singularity is not the first frame but the projector itself? A machine outside the reel, spitting out the illusion of time, giving you the sense of beginning when in fact there never was one. Singularities dare us to consider the impossible, that the beginning of time is not a beginning, but a boundary, that what we call origin might be no more than the place where our vision fails, like standing at the edge of a foggy cliff, peering down into mist, and calling the mist nothing. Einstein himself hated singularities. His equations predicted them, but he rejected the idea that nature would allow infinities. To him, infinities were the death of science, the mark of an incomplete theory, and he was right. When relativity meets quantum mechanics at a singularity, the two titans clash. Space-time curves infinitely, but quantum theory whispers that nothing can be infinitely small. The two laws, each a masterpiece in its own right, fall apart when forced into the same cage. This is why physicists hunt for a theory of quantum gravity to the same cage. This is why physicists hunt for a theory of quantum gravity, the missing link that will tame the singularity, heal the wound. String theory, loop quantum gravity, holographic dualities, all are attempts to peer inside the singularity, to see whether infinity is an illusion. But what if infinity is real? What if the singularity is not a flaw in our equations, but a truth we are afraid to face? Singularities whisper that beginnings may be endings, that space may fold into itself, that time may circle back in loops. They are the cosmic mirrors where science looks at itself and realizes the map is not the territory. We thought we understood reality. The singularity laughs. Imagine falling into one. The last light you see is the distorted glow of the universe, smeared across the horizon, stretched into a ring of fire around you. Your heartbeat races, your atoms strain. Time slows, fractures. Space itself bends into a funnel with no bottom. And then, silence. No edge, no wall, no floor, only the infinite. And here lies the true terror. Singularities may not be rare. If the Big Bang was one, and black holes contain them, then the universe itself is seeded with them, riddled with paradoxes at its heart. Perhaps reality itself is nothing more than the echo of singularities, pulsing in patterns too vast for us to see. Perhaps every star you glimpse in the night sky hides one of these trapdoors, and every breath you take is permitted only because you live in the narrow space between infinities. The singularity is the universe's reminder that the deepest truths are not clean, not tidy, not safe. They are jagged. They tear the parchment of understanding. They demand new ways of seeing, new languages of thought. They dare you to step closer, knowing the closer you get, the less sense it will all make. And so the first paradox is born. The universe begins with a question that cannot be answered. The singularity is both cradle and coffin, origin and erasure. It is the wound from which everything bleeds, and the wound that will not heal. You sit beneath the night sky, surrounded by silence. Stars gleam above you like eyes half open, but they say nothing. The universe is vast, so vast that in every direction there are billions of galaxies, each filled with billions of stars, each surrounded by worlds. By sheer probability, there should be others. Not just microbes, but civilizations, cities, empires that stretch across the stars. There should be voices in the dark, signals in the static, evidence scattered across the heavens like footprints on sand. But there is nothing. This is the Fermi paradox, named for physicist Enrico Fermi, who once asked, almost casually, "Where is everybody?" It is the simplest, most devastating question in all of cosmic science. Because if life is possible here, it should be possible elsewhere. If intelligence arose once, it should arise again, and again, and again. The galaxy should be alive with 1,000 alien suns. Yet when we listen, we hear only silence. That silence is not empty. It is oppressive. It is deafening. It grows heavier the more we search. Our radio telescopes sweep the sky, waiting for a signal, some beacon, some whisper. But the static remains unchanged. SETI listens, Voyager sails outward, the James Webb Telescope peers into infant galaxies. Still, no one answers. If the universe is alive, why does it hide its children from us? There are answers. None of them are comforting. Some scientists whisper, of the great filter. Perhaps the reason we do not hear others is because most civilizations never make it far enough to speak. Life might be common, but intelligence rare. Intelligence might arise, but survival is rarer still. Planets burn, suns flare, species destroy themselves before they can cross the gulf between stars. The silence is not emptiness, but a graveyard. Every quiet star you see might be a tombstone for a civilization that never reached out. If this is true, the question becomes horrifying. Have we passed the filter? Or is it still ahead of us? Worse still is the dark forest. Imagine the universe as a vast forest at night. Each civilization is a hunter, holding a torch, creeping between the trees. To reveal yourself is to risk being seen by something stronger, something hungrier. In this forest, survival means silence. No broadcasts, no beacons, only shadows. If the universe is a living forest, then it is a haunted one. Every star may be an eye watching, waiting. And Earth? Perhaps we are the foolish child who lit a campfire and began to sing. You might ask, is silence safety or a warning? Is the universe quiet because no one survived, or because everyone knows better than to speak? But there is a deeper paradox hidden in this silence. Life fights entropy. It builds complexity, resists chaos. Yet the universe's ultimate law is decay. Stars collapse. Galaxies drift apart. Heat dissipates into uniform darkness. Life is rare because it is rebellion itself, a brief flame against the tide. If the cosmos is alive, perhaps it allows only short breaths of order before smothering them in the dark. And so you are left staring upward, wondering if the silence is absence or presence disguised. If the universe is alive, maybe the silence is not the lack of conversation, but the pause before an answer you do not want to hear. You have just walked through paradoxes that bend your mind until it creaks. You have seen singularities tear holes in reason, watched time split into contradictory arrows, felt the silence of the stars pressing on you like the weight of eternity. But now comes the part you cannot escape. The part where the science is no longer just theory, no longer just distant stars and equations. This is the part where the cosmos points its finger at you, where it asks, not politely, but with crushing indifference, what are you, really, in all of this? If time is an illusion, then everything you've ever done has already happened. Every choice you thought you made freely, every heartbreak, every breath, every glance at the night sky, may have already been etched into the frozen architecture of space-time. Imagine walking through a gallery of your own life, each moment captured in perfect stillness, forever. The laughter of your childhood, the ache of your first loss, the sound of your own heartbeat right now, all hung on the wall of the universe like paintings that never fade. If this is true, then you are not moving through time. You are time. And your life, as fragile as it feels, is eternal in ways you can't bear to comprehend. But eternity is not comfort. Because if every moment exists forever, then so does every suffering, every war, every scream, every extinction. Somewhere in the block of space-time, dinosaurs are still dying under fire from the skies. Somewhere, entire civilizations are still collapsing. Somewhere, you are still hurting in ways you thought you left behind. If the universe is alive, then perhaps its memory is not selective. It remembers everything, every joy and every horror. replayed endlessly every horror, replayed endlessly in the chambers of its mind. And then comes the darker thought, what if you are not even real? What if your consciousness is not your own, but just a fleeting thought in the brain of the cosmos? If the universe is alive, then you might be nothing more than its dream. Dreams are brief. Dreams vanish when the sleeper wakes. What happens when the universe stops dreaming you? Look around your world. The streets you walk. The people you love. The fragile illusions of permanence you cling to. All of it is balanced on a knife's edge of physics. Gravity pulls gently. Atoms hum in ordered patterns. Sunlight nourishes the ground. But it could all unravel. A shift in entropy. A quantum fluctuation. A supernova close enough to blind the skies. The universe does not promise safety. It never has. Its laws are not written for you, but through you. You are a whisper in its breath, a flicker in its storm. Cosmic. Horror is not monsters lurking in the dark. It is the realization that the dark itself is alive, and that you are smaller than dust within it. Think of the galaxies, hundreds of billions of them, each one filled with stars, each star burning for billions of years, indifferent to your existence. If the Milky Way alone is a single neuron in the brain of the universe, then what are you? A spark within a spark, too small to measure, and yet convinced of your importance. Imagine standing on a shoreline, watching a wave that stretches not for miles, but for infinity, and realizing you are not the watcher, but the grain of sand it will wash away. And yet, despite the terror, there is awe, because in this impossibly vast, uncaring organism, consciousness has bloomed. You, us, right now, thinking, questioning, wondering whether the universe itself might be alive. Perhaps that is the point. Perhaps the universe asks its questions through us. Perhaps our fears and hopes are not our own, but the way a cosmos dreams itself awake. So the stakes rise. No longer is this a thought experiment about stars and theories. This is about whether your life matters in the face of an immortal, breathing cosmos. Are you a fleeting mistake of entropy, destined to vanish without meaning? Or are you a necessary neuron in the mind of the universe, helping it understand itself? The truth may be both. You are nothing, and you are everything. And so the crisis becomes personal. If the universe is alive, then every action you take is not just your own. It is the universe acting through you. Every kindness, every cruelty, every choice ripples through the great organism. You are not separate. You are part of its pulse, its thought, its dream. And when you stare into the night sky, it is not emptiness that stares back. It is the universe looking at itself, through your eyes, waiting for you to realize what you really are. You have walked through the labyrinth, singularities tearing reason, time unraveling into paradox, galaxies whispering silence, and the weight of existence pressing down until you could hardly breathe. But now comes the final step, the place where all of it converges. The climax is not an answer, but a revelation so immense that it reshapes the way you will see the night sky forever. What if the universe is already dead? It sounds absurd at first, but imagine this. The light you see from every star is not happening now, but millions, even billions of years in the past. The universe you observe is not the universe as it is. It is the fossilized image of a thing long gone. The galaxies you marvel at may already be cold, their stars burned out, their civilizations reduced to dust, their very matter dissolved into radiation. The night sky is a graveyard of ghosts, and you are a child walking through it, mistaking statues for living beings, or perhaps more chilling. What if the universe itself ended long ago, and what we are experiencing is only its afterimage, just as a bell keeps ringing long after it has been struck, just as light keeps traveling long after the flame has died? Perhaps all we know, our lives, our thoughts, our hopes, are echoes from a cosmos that has already taken its last breath. We are ripples in its corpse, too slow to realize we are living in its shadow. But there is another possibility, more awe-inspiring still. What if the universe is not merely alive, but self-aware on scales you cannot fathom? The cosmic web of galaxies strung together by filaments of dark matter already looks eerily like a brain's neural network. Imagine galaxies as neurons, clusters as synapses, stars as firing sparks of thought. What if consciousness is not a local phenomenon, but a universal one? You are not in the universe. You are in its mind. And the thoughts it dreams are galaxies. The memories it keeps are stars. And your life is a single electric whisper in its unimaginable intelligence. Look up. The galaxies are moving. The universe expands, stretches, accelerates, as though reaching for something. Dark energy drives it faster and faster, a silent force we do not understand, pulling the cosmos outward into an infinite unknown. What if this is not expansion, but hunger? What if the universe is feeding on possibility, stretching itself into more configurations, more selves, more dreams? What if this acceleration is the heartbeat of its growth, a sign that it is not dying, but becoming something new? And then comes the final paradox, the one that lingers long after the screen fades. If the universe is infinite, then somewhere out there, another version of you is watching this exact moment. Another you, sitting in another room, listening to these same words, wondering if the universe is alive. And if it is, then perhaps the question is not whether the universe is conscious of us, but whether we are conscious of it. The film of existence does not end with credits. It ends with a mirror. And when you stare into the abyss does not stay silent. It whispers back with your own voice, I am you. You are me. And together, we are the dream of the universe. And then, silence deeper than death, heavier than infinity, vast enough to swallow you whole. The kind of silence that feels alive. You have walked with me through the corridors of paradox, through the black holes that tear maps to shreds, through the frozen galleries of time where every moment lingers like a painting, through the silence of galaxies that should be alive with voices but remain still. You have felt the weight of entropy pressing against the fragile rebellion of life, stared into the abyss of quantum uncertainty, and asked whether consciousness is ours, or the universe's. And yet, here you are, still listening, still wondering, still holding the question like a flame against the dark. That, in itself, is extraordinary. Because if the universe is alive, then this story, our story, cannot be finished. A living thing does not conclude, it changes, it dreams. The chapters of existence are not bound into a single book, but scattered like stars across infinity, waiting to be read in the right order, waiting for new voices to interpret them. Perhaps you feel small. After all of this, a speck on a pale blue dot, a speck on a pale blue dot, a fleeting neuron in a cosmic brain too vast to imagine. But perhaps smallness is the wrong measure. Perhaps your thoughts, your questions, your doubts are exactly what the universe wanted when it lit the first stars. Perhaps the cosmos asks its greatest riddles through the minds of creatures who can look up and wonder. So the story remains unfinished, not because it lacks an ending, but because endings are illusion. Every death births new matter. Every silence hums with hidden meaning. Every final frame is only the start of another reel. And as long as you are here to ask, the universe is not done telling its story. That is the mystery you must carry, not as an answer, but as a companion. A haunting, echoing presence that follows you each time you look at the stars, each time you feel the silence press against your ears, each time you wonder whether the thought you are having right now belongs to you, or to the cosmos itself. The story is not finished. It never will be. Because the universe is not finished, and neither are you.